I remember sitting on my couch thinking, I don't know what's happening with COVID, but I'm not going to do nothing.
I looked at him, I was kind of crazy. I was like, we have like 2 units. Like, who's going to want to talk to us about this type of stuff? We have no business like talking about this.
When your goal seems so far off, it seems impossible, and sometimes people don't even start.
Go listen to our first episodes. You'll literally throw up in your mouth how bad we are.
We posted every single day for 6 years. It's been a grind.
We use the podcast as a way to organically network with people that we were never going to be able to get into rooms with.
How have you guys started to scale with real estate? Because I think that's where people get stuck.
We were saving up our own money, deploying it into deals. Until that 6 to 8, we were able to scale by partnerships.
We started doing larger multifamily syndication projects where we take down between 10 to 50 units.
We buy actually in Vermont and New Hampshire, and we're looking to do 30 units this year.
Then we're in a pinch, like we had a whole property burned down. And we're like, oh shit, what do we do?
All right, today I have with me, I'm going to read it because I can say your last name if I am looking at it, but I'm not going to get it right. I have Ryan Bevilacqua. Yeah. Okay. And I have Cory Jacobson, and you guys together. So you have your podcast, but you're also investing together. Are you investing together or just partners on the podcast?
Both.
So so give us a rundown. Give us an origin story of what came first, and then then the second piece came into it.
Origin story. Ryan likes I tell the story. Thank you for having us. This is fun. I really appreciate you having us on. And Ryan and I are in the Philadelphia area. Ryan used to live closer. Now he's a little bit further away. But we're in the Philadelphia area. We met back in college. So we went to Temple University back in, I think I graduated in 2014. Maybe Ryan was 2013. But we lived together in college and then lived together when we left college. And we always just thought there was something more than the 9 to 5. We actually worked for the same company, driving to work, like not in the same car. But then we would come home, we're like, what are we doing? This is crazy. This is what we went to college for. And we weren't making a lot of money in the beginning. So we stumbled upon the FIRE movement, real estate investing. We're like, I think this is going to be the thing that we do. And I dove right in right away. I bought a 3-bed, 2-bath. I lived in one of the bedrooms. I rented out the other 2 bedrooms. I was able to live for free completely. And this was the spark. I was like, holy shit. Like I couldn't believe that I was able to cover all my expenses, you know? Rye saw what I was doing. He was kind of like keeping an eye because he had gotten married and moved in with bought a house with his wife. And I bought another duplex, $125,000 duplex. He saw that I was doing that. He's like, all right, enough. Let's do this together. So that was like 2019, 2020. Right when COVID happened, we started our podcast, social media platform, just as a way to like document our journey, share our story. We started buying real estate together. So that's the story of how we started doing it together. And then like we built, the media, we started doing other partnerships. I can get into all of it, but just the two of us, we do a lot together. So, yeah.
So what were you guys doing before you started buying real estate? You said you went to school together. So you did the traditional, hey, I'm going to go to college and get a job. What were your guys' career paths originally?
Sales.
Okay.
Well, Cory, you did a couple different things, right? But I've been at the same company since I started right out of college, and just started on inside sales, then more on like the retention, and basically just working with high net worth individuals, selling a specific product to them and maintaining the relationship and renewing them every year. So there's like a customer service line mixed in with sales. Cory did a bit of sales and insurance, and then went to a family business. Won't take the thunder on that. But then, we're front facing marketing. We were like, hey, we know how to have conversations with people, build relationships. We would come home, and we did the journey that most people do, right? You start making a decent clip of income. You buy the nice car, you're still renting. You're like, hey, I need to buy a home eventually. They're really expensive. And then you go through this whole journey where like, how do you make more money? How do you become wealthy? How do you become rich? And like, it kept popping up like real estate. And then, i.e. my wife wanted to buy a home together. Cory he was going to have another roommate live with him, ended up doing the house hack, buying that, and then buying a duplex himself, right? So then like all this stuff, he started generating some cash through real estate. I'm like, dude, this is the thing that we had talked about before. Are you open to doing it together? We ended up buying a duplex together, did a fix and flip where we ended up keeping the property. We actually just sold that 5 years later last week, which was cool. And then we started doing larger multifamily syndication projects where we take down between 10 to 50 units, and that's come over time. We can get into our whole portfolio. But during COVID, we started the podcast. Cory, the world shut down. Cory was like, dude, we have a couple units between ourselves, and we've been reading the books. We've been listening to other podcasts. He's like, what do you think about us starting our own? And I looked at him. I was kind of crazy. I was like, we have like 2 units. Like, who's going to want to talk to us about this type of stuff? Because we were big on Bigger Pockets. We were reading like Chad Carson, all these guys, Brandon Turner, David Green. I'm like, we have no business like talking about this, in my opinion. And he's like, just trust me. I think people will actually gravitate towards us kind of growing with them in like the journey where it's like we're starting really small and eventually wanting to get somewhere. And it proved to be right. You know, we did a couple episodes ourselves, and then I think our first bigger episode was we actually reached out to Chad Carson. He's known as like Coach Carson in the community. And we were like, dude, you've been like a silent mentor to us. We read your book. Like, we started a podcast because we'd love if you would come on the show. And I don't know if it was just the way it was written, but he took a shot and was like, sure, I'll come on the show. And we prepped an outline, got like read everything we could about Chad, just like made sure we were dialed for the interview. And after the hour went by, he was like, guys, that was like really good. You guys should keep doing this. And it just took a little bit of a belief in us. And Cory and I were like, really? Like, we kind of thought we stunk at this, or like, and you're new anyways, right? But that fueled us to keep doing it. And so it's funny. It's like kind of like the domino effect with relationship building, where like 6 degrees of separation. Once we had Chad on, we could then say, hey, we had Coach Carson on. Could build out a little bio about ourselves. Like, here's what we were building. Here's what we're looking to do, help people bridge the wealth gap in the world. We kind of feel like it's shrinking. You know, there's an upper class, the lower class, the middle class is kind of eroding a little bit. And we ended up getting bigger guests on the show. We would kind of do episodes where it was Cory and I just educating on our journey. Then we had the aces, like the masters, come in and show like how they've scaled to thousands of units or whatever it is. And then it snowballed to partnerships on the real estate side, partnerships like sponsorships within the podcast world, and, you know, many more things. But like relationships have been kind of like the number one thing for us, where we've been able to kind of marry our strengths with other people's weaknesses and our weaknesses with their strengths, and kind of, you know, find different lanes of income, which has been awesome.
And I think that partner piece is so important, because with video and with talking to people, you really get to see. You ever talk to someone and go, I'm never talking to this person again? And then sometimes you meet people and go, this is a solid person, and no matter what I would do with this person is trustworthy and honest. You know, you don't get that on a phone call. You don't get that on an email. And so I think just coming into contact with people, I'll meet people that are related to different businesses and go, that person is solid and I want to stay in contact with them just because they're a good, decent person. And I think you find that when you talk to people this way.
100%. You definitely do. We found that we used the podcast as a way to organically network with people that we were never going to be able to get into rooms with had we not had a platform for them to share their story. And especially when the world shut down and COVID, it's like I wasn't going to be able to go out and network with people. And we use it as a virtual resume, a digital business card, if you will. That's the thing that we felt would work in 2020 and now 2026. It's like, if I get a business card from somebody, first of all, by day 2, I don't remember this person's face or what they're doing. And then by day 3, it's in the trash. So I was like, we have to do something different to be able to be remembered and be recognized. Why don't we have a full hour conversation with these people? And then when people think about real estate in Philadelphia, they're like, oh, the juice guys, like the juice boys. That's who we became. Like, you know, so Wealth Juice kind of created our thing to grow and to get in other rooms. And that is literally the single thing that helped us scale our rental portfolio, because Ryan and I would have been stuck at 8, 9, 10 units that we were just saving up cash, deploying it. And we just got off a call with our partner today in New England, and we're looking to do 30 units this year. You know, I never thought like, you know, that we would get to a point where that's a goal. That's a real goal. So in 2025, we bought 25 units through, we're general partners in like 5, I mentioned like 5 to 50 units, and we buy actually in Vermont and New Hampshire. So that whole thing wouldn't have even come to be if it wasn't for us sharing our story.
And I think the connection online too is, depending on your town, now real estate meetups are getting more popular and people are finding their people. But I always joke that the reason I started with my social media presence was my husband is really sick of hearing me talk about real estate. When we started investing, he said, I don't care if you do it, I'm on board. I want nothing to do with it. And so I talked to him and his eyes just glaze over. And I'm like, I need friends that are passionate about what I'm passionate about, and they're not here. And so the only way I can find those people is through online, because in my small town, I don't have those connections. Another thing that I think was really smart about what you guys did was, if you did this during COVID, all these people that normally would be public speakers and maybe going to conferences and events, speaking, everything shut down. And so maybe they had time to do that. And they also wanted to continue to gain that exposure that they would not have gotten during that period because everything was canceled.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's why maybe people gave us a shot, and we started literally April 2020. I remember sitting on my couch thinking, I don't know what's happening with COVID, but I'm not going to do nothing. I'm not just
Yeah.
going to wait to see what happens. So it was Ryan and I on like Zoom. Like go listen to our first episodes. You'll literally throw up in your mouth how bad we are. But it's developed over time into we sucked in the beginning, and now we're a lot better. And like Coach Carson said something to us, but when David Green, that was the big one, he came on at the end of the podcast episode, he was like, you guys should keep doing this. Like, you guys are pretty good. And I was like, say no more, brother. Like, okay, we're good to go. So that was the fuel. And then you mentioned the community. Like, I can't have these conversations with just any friends of mine. Like some, but others I can't. So Ryan and I, it was just the two of us. And then now we've created and curated a community and a place for people to learn from what we've done. And now we're partnering on deals with people from all over the place because they're looking for the mentorship that we wish we once had. And it's kind of a symbiotic relationship.
And I love that you guys started small. Ryan, you said no one's going to want to listen to us. And I think we all think that when we're starting. And for years, Gary Vaynerchuk was telling everybody, just document. You don't have to be the expert. Don't say you're the expert if you're not. But documenting your journey, people want to follow. Because honestly, I feel like sometimes once you get successful, then people hate you. They like to see the struggle. And then now, oh, you guys sold out. And so people like the journey. And I think the other thing too, when I follow around all these real estate communities, and I'm in the chats and seeing what people are saying, sometimes you have these huge investors. It's really hard when you're starting to relate to Grant Cardone because now he's saying buy, 100 unit buildings. Well, most people can't start there. That's maybe their goal. But when your goal seems so far off, it seems impossible, and sometimes people don't even start. So when you're saying we had 2 properties, well, when I have 0 and I see someone with 2 trying to get to 3, 4, 5, that's my spirit animal because I know I'm not ready to get to 100. And so I think that is so relatable to people, and it makes them feel like it's possible too.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I think sometimes we get wrapped up in it too. Like, I think about our story now and just kind of like how we present it. And even on our Instagram, it says like 0 to 95 units while working W-2 jobs, right? And then if I looked at that back in the day when I was first starting my journey, I'd be like, that's impossible. It seems unfathomable. I mean, when we first started the podcast, it just seemed like a passion project to me. I didn't think we'd make a revenue stream out of it. I didn't know. I had no inclination that we'd actually build a portfolio to where it is now. And so it's interesting. Like you forget people are still at stage 1, and like some of these conversations that we have are a little bit more advanced now. And I realize when we get in rooms with certain people, we have to really bring it back to day 1 personal finance again and like educate people to get to the next level. So it's an interesting thing where you're trying to showcase your journey, right? But then also you bring yourself back to stage 1 sometimes for certain conversations. Then sometimes you have to kick yourself up to stage 40 because you are talking to people like Grant Cardone. And it's just a weird balance from like podcast to real life and like figuring out where people are. But what I found is a lot of people, like 90% of people, are struggling so hard that they can't even fathom even 2 doors, like you said. And you're like, wow, you have multiple properties, like even more than 1. I remember having a conversation with a friend when we had got our like 7th unit. And I was just like, man, we need more. Me, Cory, and I were like, we're just like hungry for more. And he's like, dude, he was one of my good friends. He's like, just want to let you know, I listened to the episodes, dude. And like, you guys have 7 properties. Like we're trying to figure out how to get 2. Like our first rental, we have 1 home. And so I think sometimes we get wrapped up in all this stuff. And I guess what I'm bringing this up to say, we are trying to bridge the gap here and make people realize it's not as complicated as it seems. You have to get good with the numbers, but if you have a system and a process and people around you that have done it, you can do it too. And that's where we kind of want to stick our niche, is like we're passionate about the semi-beginner in this because we remember how much the help we needed in the beginning. All we had was a book and a podcast to listen to. And then you realize it's just up to you to try it, make it work, right? And it's never going to be perfect. So I know that was a long-winded way to get there, but it resonated with me when you're mentioning just Gary. Like I never wanted to be, face on camera, never wanted to share our story because it was imposter syndrome. I'm like, I don't know what I have to offer. I like talking about this stuff, but does anyone care? Do I sound stupid? So just starting is key.
I see this every once in a while and I'm going to slaughter it, but don't forget that the life you're living now is the life you once prayed for. So we keep raising the bar, but then you go, man, my little 20-year-old self would have been thrilled to have when I had 7 or when I had 8 or when I had 9, and we always want more and we're striving for more. But think of when you guys started, how cool it would feel to flash forward to this moment and what you guys have done and what's been possible for you. And I'm sure your bar is raising every day.
The thing that we forget oftentimes is that, you know, the access that we've been able to create ourselves. And I noticed this the other day. Somebody messaged us and said, hey, for somebody that doesn't have a big, and I don't even think our podcast is that big, but like if for somebody that doesn't have a big social presence or a big podcast, what should I do? And my thought process was, I was like thinking about it, I'm like, man, I don't even think of us as like that stage. But my initial thing is go start something, like go start that, because we're not revolutionary. It's like you could follow exactly what we did. And I would suggest anybody that has a story to tell, there's going to be somebody that resonates with you and what you're doing, who looks like you or sounds like you or is in the same geographical location as you, that will resonate with your story. And that's how you create your tribe. So I agree. I mean, I'm the worst. There's a couple things that I am not good at. I'm terribly impatient, and I'm terrible at celebrating any win of any sort. I think it's good to sometimes get on podcasts like this to share, like, okay, we have done something cool. We always want to strive for more. That's life. That's progress. That's like why we do it. I mean, that's the growth fuels us. But yeah, it's sometimes cool to stop and say, all right, like, let's enjoy this moment. Let's enjoy something that we did. Like we just sold a property that we made. We quadrupled our investment in 4.5 years. And within 30 minutes, like we were like, all right, like, whatever, you know, that's not necessarily a good thing.
No, it wasn't a good thing at all. I mean, I think a reason it wasn't a good thing is we already had the next thing it was going into. It's not like you got to even see it sit there. It was like, whoop, immediately out of the account, like 5 different places. So, which is fine because that's what we're doing. We're talking about how much the dollar goes down on a yearly basis, continue to invest. And we're like, I never want to have money in my account because I want it to be invested. But then it's just this weird psychological warfare that you go through as an entrepreneur. And one thing that I didn't realize, and I don't know if any of us realize this when we get into this game, but like this is a long game. Anyone that starts a business, like we preach that about real estate investing, right? Hey, it's a 30-year plan, right? You're getting a 30-year mortgage or whatever. It's a long time. You realize like 30 years is a pretty damn long amount of time, but also for your business to start different silos and raise them and try to like nurture this business up to make it an actual thing. It takes a long time. Like someone told us early on, they're like, you started a podcast, most don't make it past episode 10. So when we got to like episode 15 or 20, they're like, you're already past 90% of people. However, now you're in the league where you need to stick with this for 10 years to make it actually into something, to be in the like top 1% or whatever it is, like to actually make it. We're like 10 years, like there's no way. Like maybe, I don't know, like am I going to care about this in 10 years? And it's funny, we're on year like 6. I'm like, holy crap, 6 years has already gone by. Like it's pretty insane. We're getting older, but I feel like we do some of the same stuff every single day, every single week. That's the discipline that it takes to get there. And I think we're just lucky to kind of, you know, Cory's impatient, if you will, but I think I'm impatient too. It's like a weird way of saying we're competitive, and like it's a way of like keeping ourselves disciplined. It's like I don't even think about it. I know I have to post on social every day. So does he, and we just keep our days and we like hold each other accountable. Because if I don't do it, he's gonna be checking in and he's gonna be like, well, why didn't Rye post? Like, this is our business. What are you doing? So it's we've been fortunate enough to have each other for accountability, is my point. Because I think it's very hard for a single person to wake up every day to run kind of what we're running, meaning like a social media brand. You still have to do the podcast. You still have to analyze deals. Still have to maintain relationships. Still have to figure out what happens to the money when it comes in. Do you put it into another deal? Do you run into this? Like it's insane. And I'm glad we get to have these therapy sessions on podcasts because we don't get to talk about it that often. And sometimes Cory and I are like in each other's lanes, right? And we just like meet on a podcast and we're like, let's like brain dump on everybody. But my point is, when you get into these rooms with other people, this is a great session because it brings me back. I get to reminisce on what happened this last year, then think about the future. And I always struggle with going back to like younger me and trying to think like, hey, would this person be proud or like celebrate the win? We never celebrate the win. We're always thinking about the next thing. And to your point, you were probably talking about the real estate portfolio, but I think about the battle we've had on social media for the last 6 years. It's been a grind. Like our last, and I'm just saying this for people that are thinking about starting a social presence to like pair with your business. You know, we posted every single day for 6 years, and only in the last year, and probably the last 6 months, has things rocketed. We were at 30,000 followers for about, I think it was like 2 years we got stuck. And then the last 6 months, it's doubled. And we're like, okay, finally, like things are coming together. Algorithms change. We have to adapt. We have to learn. You become better because you learn from other people. You invest money into coaching, mentorship, whatever it is. But my point is, the person that said wait 10 years was right. Like it took 6 to get like really good traction. So I'm passing that down to whoever's listening. Like it works. You just got to keep your head down and find someone that'll hold you accountable if you can't do it yourself. And that's, props to Cory and our partnership. I love that aspect that we have.
That's awesome that you guys have each other, because I think that is very rare. I think people try partnerships and they don't work, or one person's pulling more. And I think it's hard to find a good partner in business, and both your businesses. And so that's super cool. I want to go back a little bit. You guys talked about when you started, you had a couple properties, and as you scaled, you're both working. Are you both full-time, still working full-time?
I am.
No,
Cory's not.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the dynamic that we have. Ryan's working full time. I'm a real estate agent, so I do that, which I like. But our business, our mentorship program, buying real estate, running our social media, and being an agent, that's my lane. And Rye is a lot of the back end of our business, and he still maintains his full time job. So that's changed the dynamic of our business and our relationship, because it was both of us for 5 years working full-time jobs and running this as a side hustle, if you will. And then about 18 months ago, I went full-time. I can't even believe it's been that long, but that's now our new reality and how we're trying to grow this.
So how have you guys started to scale with real estate? Back to when you had a couple properties, because I think that's where people get stuck. Most people, if you work and you save, you can buy a couple properties, but then they kind of either can't save that next down payment, or they have the next down payment but not reserves, or they get to 10 conventional loans and then they got to go DSCR or non-conventional or commercial. How did you guys scale over the hump? And where was the hump for you guys? Where did you feel like you stalled and then kind of got over it?
So this is like, I'm glad you asked this question. It's a good question. This is where most people get stuck. We were saving up our own money, deploying into deals, until that 6 to 8. And what we realized is that by having people on our podcast, what we were able to navigate through some of the relationships and figure out who are the people that we resonated with the most, who are the people that stood out to us, that were like, this is somebody that's like us, that we could, have a beer with, that we could trust, that we could get to really nurture a relationship with. And there was a gentleman named Sean who came on our podcast, and we essentially dated Sean for 2 years by meeting him, Zooms, having conversations. And then, after a few more, after our 10th, 12th, 15th conversation, he realized that, you guys have this portfolio and this brand that you're starting to build. I am buying property right in my backyard, and I need the marketing. I need you to help me. I need help underwriting all these deals that are coming in. I need capital. I need a couple of these things. I actually have the construction team and the property management team and all this stuff ready to go. Deal flow is not the issue. I need to help siphoning through and investor relations and building this business, if you will, in my backyard. And we were like, dude, we can do this. We have people that follow us. We have our friends, family, people that want to get double-digit returns backed by real estate, that don't want to touch the properties or don't want to go and analyze deals because they're too busy. So that was how our Wealth Juice inner circle was born, because we were teaching people how to buy property, but as a byproduct of that, they could also come in and potentially do deals with us. And that is how we were able to scale, by partnering and being co-general partners on an 18 unit, on a 10 unit, on a 7 unit, on an 8 unit, another 7 unit. There's a 43 unit in there. Some of these were in different markets, but now we're focused on a specific market for the past 3 full years. We've done New Hampshire and Vermont with Sean. So we were able to scale by partnerships. And that's why we talk kind of heavy on the social media, because that was the only reason we were able to meet the people that allowed us to scale and parlay our relationship.
Yeah. You build a digital resume, which is interesting. Someone told us early on in the game, they're like, guys, this is the business card of 2022 or whenever we were given the advice, right? And they said there's twofold. Attention is the new currency, right? So people just want, for example, the podcast, right? Everyone wants to share their story. Everyone wants a piece of someone's community. So if you can provide that for people, keep doing the podcast, you will automatically give value by just showing up and asking them questions. People love talking about themselves. They love promoting their brand, whatever. So we had that unlocked, which was awesome. And we like doing it. By the way, Cory and I are curious people. We want to just learn how people reach a level of success. I always wanted a little speech bubble to pop up above people's head, like what you do and how much net worth you have. And I'm just so curious. I just think it's amazing because there's so much that goes into building wealth in this rat race that everybody's in. So that's that. And basically outside of the business card aspect of things, it's like, how can you showcase what you're doing, right? You always go show your resume for your next job, right? Us, it's like, if you're going to go meet someone for the first time, before you get to the phone number, people are like, hey, how can I connect with you? You give the gatekeeper, if you will, is your Instagram or whatever social media it is. They're like, oh, you on social? And for us to now be able to like say, yeah, here's our social media handle. You look and you see, oh, wow, they have 75,000 followers. They posted 2,000 times. They've done this a lot. Like they're not just showing up and they magically had this. Like they've shown up, they have experience in this. You see the post, there's some motivational, there's some educational about what we're doing on a daily basis. You're documenting what you do, right? And proof of concept. But then there's other people that are doing the exact same thing as us, but we just package it as Cory and Ryan. And if people resonate with that, they're like, oh, I like these guys. They're just average Joes that figured it out. And like, I resonate with that. Maybe I want to have a conversation with them. Then we have conversations with them if they want to come into our smaller community to like handhold them to their first deal, because that's what we wish we had in the beginning. Like, I don't want to read this book anymore. Like, just someone help me, training wheels. We have that. And then if you are like on the next level where it's like, hey, listen, actually, I'm making a hefty sum of income. I have like zero time, but I have the cash and I want to diversify into real estate. Amazing. We take down 5 to 50 units. Here's our buy box. If this is the right fit for you and we have a relationship, then, we'll vet you out first to see if it's the right fit and we can potentially partner with you. So we're trying to give a white glove service to people that want to diversify into real estate investing. And then local market, Cory's an agent, he can help them with their deal if they don't want any coaching. They just want a property. So for us, it's like, all that's great, but how do you continually do that and have lead flow and people and build community? It's all been social media and the podcast. And it's just been a lot of like guerrilla marketing, if you will, and like referral based stuff where we had a great podcast with you. I'm sure we have some guests that would want to come on your show and vice versa. And it just spreads things. So that's kind of how we've grown over the last 6+ years. And our goal here now with our portfolio in New England, like we're trying to get that to a specific clip of income. So that way we can take our property management and take it all in-house. So that way we can do full time, scale the portfolio, get to 500 units up in that market and really bolster that portfolio to be like the big, I don't know, like the nucleus of everything now. Cause we had our own portfolio, Cory and I, for the longest time, and just like the foundational piece. And we just found like it's just more fun taking it down with more people. And I don't know, we found our lane there.
So you mentioned you have a couple ways for people to come into your community. You have your small community where people are learning, they're getting started and they kind of need help through the beginning stages or maybe for their first couple of properties. Or tell me a little bit about that community, your starter community.
We're trying to provide something that we wish we had in the beginning, which is mentorship, teaching people, hand-holding them through how to get for their first or next rental property in the next 3 to 6 months. Because I know how hard that first deal was. And that first and second, those first 2 deals are so difficult because you don't know what you don't know. You need to build a team. You need deal flow. You need to understand how to analyze deals. You need to have the right mindset. You need to be put in the position to succeed, and that's what coaches do. So we help you, literally, like it's Ryan and I. You're not getting put into a community with 10,000 people. Good luck. It's like Ryan and I, every week we meet with our community and we're helping you through the process. So that is a focus of ours because we've realized that, how can we serve the market the best? Like I truly feel that if you have a skill set and you're on level 2, there is somebody that is on level 0 that is yearning for your skill set. They want to know how to do this. So should I be teaching somebody how to buy 50 units? No, I probably shouldn't. Like somebody else is better at doing that, but I could definitely tell you how to get started. And once you're in this game, we can tell you how to scale through social and it gets a lot better from there. So that is what we do. We meet every single week and we basically plug you into a system that is proven to work. And that's anybody that's really looking to get started in the real estate game. So that's the community there.
So you guys are available to people. When someone comes into that community, that beginner community, you're not just passing them off to some sub-moderator. They actually have access to mentorship from you guys.
That's the way we wanted to create it because I know what people feel from content creators and influencers, if you will. I never set out to be an influencer, but I guess at somewhere along the lines, like you should see our Instagram comments recently. People when you get to be have a certain amount of following, the tide starts to turn, kind of like you said. Like, people are like throwing shade at us as if they know us. It's weird. It's really weird. And I only say that to say I never wanted to bring a product to the marketplace where I wasn't comfortable being like, I know how much I can help you. I'm going to be the front-facing aspect of this. You're going to get my attention, and you're going to pay for our attention. I think that's what we want to give, because if people know, like, and trust us, they know our hearts are true and we really want to help. So they come into the community and they get access to not just us, but there's other investors in this community that have grown with the community that started out at 2 units, now of 10. And then they are starting to be like quasi mentors and just a great network for somebody who's like, I just want to get started in this game. So they get full access to us. They get the opportunity to network with us, and then our network. And then there's our mentors who are also in the community too, which makes it even more fun, and the opportunity to potentially partner on deals. And I'm telling you, if we would have had this in the beginning, something like this that was just like shown to us, the roadmap, we would have been so much further along and probably saved a lot of money.
Emily, you mentioned this too. This is one thing I want to touch on. Like, in the beginning, you touched on, hey, I have a podcast. My husband, he's into the real estate investing only because I am. But everything goes over his head. Like, he just says, you handle it, right? And for us, it was Cory and I talking about this stuff every day we come home from work. And we're like, personal finance, like bigger life, like, we got this, dude. And like, none of our friends cared. They're like, yeah, that's cool, dude. You want to go out to eat? And we're like, all right, like, so we gotta I guess unintentionally, but we just kind of like lasered in with each other. And we're like, dude, like let's lock and key this. Let's just like keep talking about it, getting each other excited. Like, and so from that, it spawned this community where we found an outlet for people, because now you show up every week and all these questions you have and like thoughts about personal finance, real estate, investing, media, and like, it's not just one thing, but you get to we have a conversation like every single week, 2 conversations. And so then we have a school. It's all the community that we have. It's built out on School. It's a Hermosi's program, but SKOOL. It's basically like a Facebook group on steroids, where there's a wall. You can direct message each other. You post wins, pictures, like all this stuff. And then people exchange numbers. 3 people did it. They met in the community. One's from New York. One's living in Texas right now. One's in Michigan. They all met forces and they met in person. Took down a deal in Detroit. I'm like, that's the coolest thing ever. It's like remote investing. They would have never known each other. It came from us probably posting a post. They liked it. They followed us. We had a conversation, got one in, the next one. That is like the coolest thing, to create something out of nothing. And I think when we say it's something we wish we had in the beginning, is like, it was only Cory and I, and we were like reading through the books and listening to podcasts. So if we had some buddies that were doing it, it gets you more excited. It holds you accountable. You want to keep up with what everybody's doing. So you're like, I got to like make sure I'm locked in this week in actually like analyzing the deals, not like cheating on myself by not doing the deals. So it's this really cool thing. And now it's this underlying tone of accountability for Cory and I, because our skill sets, now we have to stay sharp. We have to continue to provide them with opportunities, but these opportunities present us with opportunities. So it's this really cool flywheel that we built. And sometimes it's hard to see beyond right in front of you. Like, we try to have this big vision of like, every year we reset, recalibrate, like, hey, okay, what are our lanes going to be this year? How can we serve the most people? The world is changing. And this is like an interesting conversation for, you and anyone that's listening. Is like, with the introduction of AI in the last couple of years, with potentially robotics coming up, but like getting the answer to anything within 3 seconds is pretty insane to kind of compete with. But the one thing that I think people are always going to be lacking is that sense of community and that human touch, right? Like, with Zoom, it's cool, but when you meet in person, you get to hug someone, you get to dap them up, and you just got like, it's just different. And so that to us is we started like really like trying to formulate what was going to change our business for the next year. So this year, just a complete aside, which we're excited about, we're going to start doing more in-person stuff, like localized groups, like Philly, New Jersey, like where we're at, because it's so cool to make these relationships and remotely invest. But I can see these people once a year, right? To be able to see people every couple of weeks and have an in-person meetup, that's what we're going to bring to, because I think a lot of people are going to continue to feel this void in their life about like human connection and touch, especially like working from home. A lot of people are doing that now too. So that's one of our goals. And I think by doing that, it's just going to allow us to help more people and do things more localized versus trying to sometimes grasp at straws all around the States, like picking in certain markets and really honing in to help people. Like we have our market dialed in New England, like that's where we're staying, but helping other people kind of solidify where they're going to build their roots. That's important to us.
I think people are going to crave that human connection as we lose it even more. I think it's going to at some point make a resurgence, and that's where your value is going to be. Even like Cory, you being a realtor or real estate agent, I think we got so much e-sign. No one meets at the office anymore. There's very little in person. I mean, even rental properties, you can have remote showings with Rently and all that type of stuff. And I think eventually we're going to come back around to the luxury service is going to be more where you get more access to a human being than a computer, just because people want that contact. So I think realtors will mostly phase out, except for high-income people who don't want to do a FSBO, they don't want to deal with it, but they want you to sit down in their living room with them for 2 hours before they list the house. They want to talk to you and go over the offers in person and really have their hand held. And that's just my example because that's the world that I'm in. But I do think that that's really going to come back around and be the service that people crave because people are going to get really, really lonely.
I agree with you. I don't know if this exactly positions to what the example you just gave was, but I just wanted to give an example for us. So we're selling a property, Cory's an agent, right? But it's like kind of like a new last like 5-6 months kind of thing. We have a gentleman in our community that's been doing it for a while. He's a teacher on the side, but he's also like really trying to become full-time real estate agent and investor, all these things combined. And we're like, you know what? We want to sell this property. Let's give him a shot. He's like the first person to raise his hand, do anything we ever need. And he's helped a lot of people in the community. He just hadn't had his hand on any part of our portfolio. And Cora's like, dude, let's give Anthony a shot. Like, I think he can do this. And he's really dialed in. So we did. And I've had conversations with Anthony like so many times on Zoom, and we had phone conversations, all of us, but meeting him in person, just like it solidified everything. And it really made the relationship. It kind of, I don't know how to say this, but like it 10x the relationship. And watching him in person handle our listing like it was his own, and like it felt like the guy was using 5 phones at once. So we had a problem where we needed a certificate of occupancy for closing the next day, and our contractor didn't fix the correct window. There was 2 windows. One was fixed. He fixed like the drawstring on it, but the cracked window didn't fix it. The most obvious thing to fix. So we get there and we're like, we didn't get the CO and we need it for tomorrow. And so Anthony goes, dudes, just meet me at the property. Let's just walk this thing, have the contractor meet us. So you should see Cory, myself, contractor, we've done a lot of remote investing lately. And so to be back in the one this was the first fix and flip that we did. So Cory and I back at like 5 years ago, we were like painting this thing ourselves, doing like laying the floors, doing everything. And now we're back in it trying to sell it. And we're like, wow, I haven't been in this place in a long time. But my point is, Anthony's there on his hands and knees trying to fix the oven. He's calling people to fix the glass. He was able to, through relationships, to call a glass company and have them out in 2 hours, fix it. The next day we were able to get the CO and close the property. It was the only offer that we had. It was $10,000 over asking. And he brought it to the finish line because he had a connection with his lender that was able to get this first-time homeowner a credit because she was a small-time business owner, had a nail salon. So he used his relationships to help our relationship. And just to see everything come full circle, but to do it like in person, it just felt amplified. And now I'm like, Anthony, dude, anything you need, dude. Like I wrote him a review. I recorded a review, and just like he got 2 more referrals off of that. So it's just people helping people. And I think you forget that when you're doing so many deals and things transactionally virtually, it doesn't feel like the human connection's lost. And for me, it kind of brought it back, and it solidified to your point. It was like, I didn't even realize I was craving it. And now I'm just like, I feel like every relationship you have to get it to the next level, the people that you're able to meet with in person are going to be your kind of the people in the foxhole with you, really, versus virtual all the time, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And you see it because had you guys not been there physically with him, seeing what was going on, a lot of times, and I'm sure it's in any business, but your real estate agent, if you have a good one, there's a lot of not good ones. If you have a good one, there's so many things they're doing behind the scenes that you don't even know about, to put out fires, to make things work, to fix problems. And you don't want to be like, oh, here, I did this today, But I just don't think had you not been there, had you not physically been around him, like you're saying, you saw him on the ground trying to fix something. You wouldn't have seen that. You were there, so you happened to see what he was doing.
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting where so funny enough, we were like, I was like, dude, we gotta get, he's just going ham right now, trying to get us to the end of the finish line. I was like, do we get him a coffee? Should we throw him $100? Like, what can we do? And like, we walked in and I was like, trying to like throw money at him. Obviously he's going to make commission. He's like, nope, don't even think about it, dude. That's against the rules. And I was like, okay, dude, sorry. Like you're my boy. Like, I can't like help you out. He's like, nope, I'm not touching it. You already give me enough referrals in business. So but then he goes, you guys are like some of the most giving guys I've ever met. And I'm like, that to me, like hit me right in the heart. And I was like, dude, like that was so nice. Like it's just something we thought about doing anyways. And I was like, dude, you're such a hard worker. It's one of those things where you never would know. It would all be very transactional. I was like, Anthony, take an extra like $100 here or do something there. And it wouldn't feel like anything, but like just to be able to have that human touch interaction conversation. And it's such a weird thing. Maybe 10 years ago, this was like, everybody be like, dude, that's not like cool story, bro. Like, what are you even talking about? But for me, it brought back the customer service aspect of life and relationships. And so I'm probably going around in circles here, but I do, my point here in saying all this is like, I really do feel like one of the secret ingredients or the secret sauces for people moving forward is to find that way to get in person and get away from the digital aspect of every transaction you do. And if you can do that in an efficient manner, it's going to take you to the next level, because the world is hiding in their phones and they're hiding from showing up, and like social interactions becoming this weird thing. I noticed. And if you can public speak and do the things at a high clip, you're going to be top 1% easy.
The other thing that I love that you said there was you just giving him giving you guys a compliment and how that made you feel, and then vice versa, you guys encouraging him. Sometimes, first of all, I think we live in a world where everyone's kind of just jerks to each other. And so I think we forget, like sometimes we'll notice something good about somebody and we don't say it. We don't share it. We don't want to be too nice or too friendly. You talking about how much value that shared for you and for him. I'm sure you guys as his mentors, giving him an opportunity and then following up with, you did a great job. We're very happy with the service we got from you. I can't imagine how much that probably meant to him. Just like you guys talking about 6 years ago or 5 years ago or however many years it was ago that you interviewed Chad Carson and that you interviewed David Green, and that positive feedback when you were kind of timid and not sure of what you were doing kind of pushed you forward a little bit. How much did you guys as his mentor push him forward? And okay, I'm trying to get started in this. I got a chance. I had positive feedback. You did the same thing for him that those mentors did for you 6 years ago. And it's so important that we're cycling that through.
Some people just get it, Emily, and other people don't. And I had these conversations with a number of people who were like, oh, I would never like pay for mentorship, or I would never like pay to be in a community, or, you know, it's like a small-minded thing to be like, to not expand your horizons. And Anthony was somebody who was just like, I can't even, he's like, I'm so thankful that you're even giving me the opportunity to like be around you guys. And I'm not saying we're celebrities. We're not. That's not my point. But he saw the vision. And I met with him literally yesterday and we went over the plan because he wants to continue to grow this and do the in-person stuff. And he's going to be a facilitator of our community on the in-person, live on the ground stuff. So he's even like a bigger piece of the pie than we thought that he would be, you know, before he joined. So it's kind of all about grabbing the bull by the horns and just going. And I think the people that understand relationships and understand like the true value exchange they're going to thrive even more so in the next 10, 15 years than anybody else. Because you're right. Like you mentioned Gary V earlier. He said that a service that's going to come about in the next 5 years is going to be like taking walks with people. You could do that for free at any time, but no one does it. You know, like, so because of the loneliness epidemic in a way. So I'm just, you know, we're having this conversation, we're virtual, we're not in the same room. You know, I'm trying to get to a position where it feels like I'm creating more true, loving, in-person relationships. And I think that's what people really want at the end of the day. So.
And I think another thing too is you talked about, okay, we gave him a chance and he did awesome. And now we're going to work together more moving forward. I don't think young people understand this anymore. Because when I was young, you kind of had to earn your keep. It wasn't, you don't just get the best job out of high school. You don't just get the best job out of college. You got to prove yourself and then you get other opportunities. And so sometimes people, again, you meet people, you go, oh, never again. You give someone an opportunity and you decide, no more. We're not working with that person again. So it's really like an interview. You have an experience with somebody. Does it go great? Okay, let's do more together. And I think young people really need to remember that, just like you guys talking about every podcast, every social media post, that's your interview. That's your advertisement to the world of what you're doing and what you have to offer. Every job, every interaction you have with somebody, that's building to, do I want to build more of this relationship moving forward with this person? Or do I go, no way, we're done?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I did in the beginning of my like career in terms of like I was the first year I haven't coached basketball in like 12 years. But it's a big part of my life, and I offered to coach for free at a private school in the area that was like one of the top performing schools in terms of like their basketball team. And number of guys in the NBA have coached a lot of high level Division I players, but the head coach had sold $150 million company. And he's a good, like, if I call him, he picks up on the first ring. Like, he's that type of mentor and like friend, really. Now we're like not that far off in age. Offering to do that for free, to like go coach with him and just be a part of his staff, has paid me dividend after dividend after dividend in relationship capital and just life advice and the people that he's introduced me to. So to your point, I think a lot of people don't want to do that. Oh, I'm worth more. I don't want to do my services for free. If somebody came to us and they figured out the thing that we needed in our business without us having to tell them, and then they said, hey, I'll do this for free, in a heartbeat, we would take somebody on to give them a chance. I don't know how many people are willing to go down that road. And when you're young, it's easier, right? I mean, you can get away with it. So that's what I would do if I was like starting over if I was 20 again.
Just providing value, right? We talk about, I think a lot of people get hung up on finding how to become wealthy or like how to get to the next level, right? And a lot of times it's figuring out who you need to meet in order to get pulled up to their level. I read this book a while back and it really framed it for me. It's called The Tribe of Millionaires. And it was just about getting around a collective group of individuals who are at the level you want to be, doing what you want to do, and then doing whatever you can to get into that room. And whether it's volunteering for free, but just figuring out what they're lacking in and being that gap and not expecting anything in return and just like trying to soak up as much knowledge. Most times people, as long as you're providing value and like they can see that you're hungry, they're going to look down and see a previous version of themselves and say, I remember how hard that was. This kid keeps showing up every single day. He's doing whatever I ask him. I'm going to throw him a bone. And that's what happens. And like, by the way, Anthony's not like light years behind us. He's got investment properties. He's been an agent for a long time. He was a day one follower of the podcast, stayed in touch with us. So nice, so complimentary, shared that like things that impacted him. And then this was like our first like, dude, like, okay, let's see what we do. Like, he's been successful with other individuals in our community, helping them get deals. And I'm like, it was a no brainer to like say, dude, like, let's go. And he took the opportunity and now it's cool. It's the next level. We're like doing things together versus like one's up here, one's down here. Really cool, small example of the things though. Like he found his way into the community, right? Like we got around each other, raised his hand, volunteered for anything, was always willing to take a call with anyone that had a question, that needed an agent, that needed this. And then it came full circle for like a bigger moment and he nailed it. And so it's just really cool to highlight him and we'll make him listen to this episode too, because I want to give him his flowers. He's one of our boys and he gets it. And so my point is finding the people that you want to get around. And once you get around there, you get lifted to that level. And then you have these levels of conversation where you can start doing things together and taking things down. And you're like an equal at that point and no longer feels like you're looking up. And it's really cool. And we've done that. That was part of like getting into the bigger deal room, right? With our partner who had done multiple larger projects. You actually asked the question, I don't know if we even answered it, but it was like 30 minutes ago. So sorry about that. It was like, how did you get from like the base level to the next level? And it was the gentleman that was on our show who was just taking down huge deals. We sat in the room with him for 2 years, had him, he showed us how to do the larger projects. And when we finally like decided to take one down together, we were prepared because we had been continuously providing him value, learning, fly on the wall situation. Now we're doing stuff together. It's the coolest thing. We're helping other people. Just this big cycle flywheel, right? As you mentioned, like people helping people. It's the coolest thing. And back in the day, I always thought it was like this lone wolf mentality you had to have just to like chase down things. And like the people at the top, just like they buckled down and they just did it themselves. And you find out like you can go, there's a quote, like, you go fast alone, but you go further together. I found that is so true in business and in life. And like, we're nowhere without the people around us. Like, anytime we have an issue, you got to have a guy for that. You have a girl for that. Like, those are the most successful people that are resourceful. Anytime we're in a pinch, like, we had a whole property burned down and we're like, oh shit, what do we do? And luckily we had a guy for that. And we had a walkthrough, and we had insurance and all this stuff. We learned through, whether it was a podcast, a book, someone to call to say, hey, this happened. Like, should we be freaking out? And them taming the conversation, be like, yeah, I mean, it's not the best, but we'll figure it out together. So, and Cory and I had each other, right? So my point is just, we've seen a lot of bad things happen. And I think I'd be a lot more scared if I didn't have this big network behind me or someone in my phone to call. So my point is, you need to do more for other people, answer when they call you, provide value, be a shoulder. Sometimes they just want to talk and they don't even want to like, it's not about business at all. It's like my mentor in real estate, who gave us all his contacts, he was my client for my job for 7 years at that point. And I did nothing besides just make sure him and his family had a great time doing whatever we were doing in the corporate world. And sometimes he needed relationship advice and would like call me, and like, he treated me as he thought I was his son. He's like, and I've answered him. I sent his, mom got sick. We send her flowers. Like, we take him out to dinner. Like, we become friends. And now anytime I call him, it's like, what's up, bro? Like, he's like, I'm his kid. It's the coolest, strangest thing. But my point is, I think I can speak with Cory and I together. Like, we're nothing without our relationships. Like, it's helped us become better. It's helped us give more. It's helped us it's shaped us in a lot of ways. And I would say to anyone that's listening, you got to get back to talking to people. And like, this whole episode seems like it's about relationship capital, getting in person, but it's providing value to others. And it doesn't always have to be a service. It's just being a shoulder, having conversations, asking questions, being curious, answering the phone, calling them out of the blue. Things that are basic that people are like, in 2026, I think people are falling away from because, people are stuck on social media, scrolling in the vortex, or like just focusing on them versus, the other person. So.
And how amazing, I feel like it's so crazy how willing to help each other the real estate community is, and how if somebody, you mentioned this, is ahead of you in their journey, if they see someone putting in the effort. Now, there's a lot of people that say they want to do it, but they keep not taking actionable steps, or they're not actually putting in the effort. But I think when somebody is very successful and they see somebody younger than them or steps behind them, it's crazy to me how willing everybody is to help each other for the most part, and how reciprocal it seems to be if you just are willing to grind and someone sees that in you.
I think it's because people know that there are very few people that will actually do the things that they say they're going to do. There's very few people that say, I want to invest in real estate, I'm going to buy a property this year, and then they actually go do that. I have conversations with all the time people who have been stuck in analysis paralysis for 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, let's go, and I think that's why the people lend a hand down when they see this person's actually going to do what they say. And it's life discipline, it's family discipline, it's health discipline. All that stuff plays a factor into like you building a business and building a life. It's like, just if there's anything that you should do on a day-to-day basis, it's just do what you say you're going to do. And if it doesn't end up being the same outcome, that's okay. Like, if I say I'm going to do this, but it ends up being that, all right. Like, your intention's there. But I just mean, like, if you say you're going to call somebody at 2:00 and then you don't call, you are not trustworthy. Unless you have some sort of thing that happened that you can say, oh, I'm sorry, I'll call you back at this time. But like, the amount of people I talk to or have conversations with that are like, oh, I'm going to email you that over, and I never get, or I'm going to connect you with that person, and that never happens. I'm like, wow. So I think, to your point, the people that see the people that are following through on the tasks or the things they say they're going to do, those are like, all right, I got it. You say you're going to do this, I'm going to help you through the fire, so to speak.
Watching Cory, how pissed he gets when people do this is like one of the funniest things. It sucks. Not funny, but it's like, not everybody's built like all of us in this room, or like, and when I say built like that, it's come over time, and it's a discipline. It's like you've trained yourself to do the things that you say you're going to do, because it's so easy to hit the snooze button. It's so easy to, oh, someone's calling me right now, I'm just going to hit, like, not answer it. Or I have to analyze this deal, I'm just not going to do it because had an extra work call got put on the calendar, and like, I'm not going to make time for it later. And I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it the next day. Or I'm going to start the next year. And so it's just one of those things. And by the way, I don't knock people, because I know life gets complicated, and people that start getting into real estate investing, it seems there's a lot of like hungry, maybe like mid 20-year-olds, right? That are like becoming proficient at their jobs, and they're making some dough, and they're like, those are the ones that if you can get them early, then they're good. But a lot more people are now starting to have kids and family, and they bought a primary residence and they want to get into it. But then when they go home after their job, they have kids, they have a spouse, they have things that are happening, and it makes it so much harder. And so my point here in saying is, like, I don't knock anyone for doing it, but just know everyone has an excuse and everyone has something going on. And there's the ones that have figured it out. You want to emulate what they're doing, or like get around them, because they can potentially train you up. It's getting up an extra hour earlier, staying up an extra hour later, and just figuring it out and doing the tasks, the boring, repeatable stuff. Like, what do they say? The tortoise wins the race, because he's doing the same slow thing where the rabbit's like going left, right, up, down, taking shortcuts, and then gets lost. So my point here is, like, the small meaningless tasks that feels like they don't mean anything to us, that has been another secret that has just allowed us to succeed, where it's like, we just have continued to maintain the business, continued to learn, continued to show up for the podcast, meet people, just because it's on the calendar, and you just do it. And you you stay organized, you do it, and it leads to opportunities. And then then you're able to realize what's an opportunity, instead of just, oh, that person said that thing, I didn't pick up on it. But having all these conversations, you're like, whoa, that person's lacking in that. I have this. I think we need a follow-up conversation. Maybe we can do something together and collab. Found that, like, at the top is a lot of collaboration. That's what I was getting at before. It's, I always thought it was like the CEO, the president just did it themselves. When you realize it's just collaboration happening over and over, and it takes a village to actually make it all work. And so I say that to say, like, focus on the small little things and just showing up. And if you're at like stage 0 to get there, is just doing the little things over time. You say you're going to analyze the deal. You say you're going to you book a call, show up to the call. Ask questions. It might be embarrassing, but just show up to the call. Like, there's so many people that just like, oh, maybe I'll just book it later and I'll cancel it. So many people, like, they'll sign for the podcast, or like, I don't know how you can sign up for something, see it on your calendar, and unless something really bad happens, not show up to it. And then if you don't show up to it, just or you're not going to be able to make it, send a text or an email, and just give me some excuse, something. Like, and just the ghost thing is weird. And I'm calloused. Cory and I are, at least, I don't know your background here, but like, we've been in sales for a long time. I'm just so calloused from it. I'm like, I don't expect anything less at this point, but it's annoying, And sorry, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, I'm just agreeing with you. Being a real estate broker, the amount of people that just don't show up for things, and then you follow up, and part of you, do I want to be a jerk? I don't want to be a jerk. Maybe they had an emergency, and then they respond, or they don't ever, and they just weren't going to show up. Oh yeah, it didn't work out. Sorry. You couldn't just tell me you weren't coming. I'm waiting for you. It's appalling to me that you would just not come, and not even send somebody a message that you're not coming.
People will lie to your face, I guess is what I'm saying. And that is, it's never been like in our sphere, in our mantra, to like ever do something like that. So it confuses me, and maybe I shouldn't be surprised. But people will truly tell you something and then not do it. And I just find, like, okay, you know what? That's okay. I shouldn't bother me. It's just not somebody that I want to associate with. Like, I'm going to go find my people. So
my thing is, I remember this one gentleman, I'm not going to blast them right on here, but we had so many conversations with him, whether it was like coming into the community or investing in deals with us. And he was like, I want to partner on stuff. And like, we gave him opportunities to do all of the above, and he would just not respond. It was the weirdest thing. And we're like, dude, what is happening? I literally sent him a voice message one time. I was like, dude, I just need to know, did I say something that rubbed you the wrong way? You're actually kind of weirding me out. Like, are you okay? Or do you have some family stuff going on? Like, did I say something like totally aggressive to make you feel weird? I don't know why you're not responding. And it's really strange to me, because you asked for all these things, or you mentioned all these pain points, and it came like, saw the thing, listened to it. You can see all like the read receipts and all that. It's like another like week went by. It was like, hey, didn't really know how to like answer you on this. At least I finally got a reply, and he kind of admitted like, hey, I just like actually didn't know how to tell you no. Which I was like, it was weird.
Tell me no.
Well, just tell me, bro. Like, I don't care. I literally do not care at all. We have bigger fish to fry, but you're freaking me out. Like, it was just a weird thing. And so we have little like nuances and stories like this over the last time. And like, so that's like Cory and I kind of like, we just like keep with the constant. Like he and I are always aligned. We're just like, just show up for each other, just figure it out, and like, let's go. Because there's so many weird fumblers, dude. And there's like just people out there that you think are everyone promises the world. I hate that. We've been like this consultant or this, and we can do this for your business. We've tried it all and none of them work. I promise you. Like maybe one of the investments will work. So that's why I say when you find some success in the lane of a business, and like, this is kind of like me just a little bit brain dumping on you, but we've been like really calibrating this year to figure out our lanes of the business. And we have just kind of decided we found a specific lane that has worked for the last 5 years, and we haven't amplified it. We've just kind of kept it as like a secondary thing. And we decided to double down on it. We're like, let's just focus our attention on the thing that works instead of having 5 things running. And we'll see how it goes at the end of the year. But we're going to kind of bring it back to like just doing the work and focusing on one lane. And I just have a funny feeling it's going to allow that one thing to 10x versus trying to split our attention around on all these different things. And it might sound like the most basic thing ever, but it gets hard when people are offering opportunities to you, or you're trying to seek out the next big thing. And, am I keeping up with everybody? Like, am I able to provide X, Y, Z for my family? So it's this battle that we're all going through. Right. And, I just like having these conversations because it makes you think again, like half the things we talked about, you're like, oh yeah, that happens to me weekly. People don't show up. People don't answer. So it's all part of the game. It's just focusing on having that tunnel vision for the long game and just realizing it's all a journey, right? Like you always think you're going to, like, once you get a certain dollar amount, you're going to be happy and you're like, this is like the answer. And then it's not. You have the next mountain peak, and you're, back in the day, like us closing on this deal that we just like closed at the end of the year, I would have been stoked. If you talked to me in like 2018 or something like that, I've been like, I'm the richest guy in America. Like, and really for doing one deal, it wasn't that much either, by the way. It wasn't like it was a 6-figure payout, but I was just saying, like, today, then it felt like, okay, like on to the next. I'm like, what are we doing, man? Like, we got to start celebrating some of this stuff. And I take personal blame for that. Cory takes personal blame. We're just not good at it. I don't think many entrepreneurs are good at that.
No, that's great. And because like you were saying, you're starting, the other thing is already started and you're full steam ahead. So you don't even, which is good. I think that's a good thing, but you don't give yourself time to celebrate that huge victory. I want to go back to something. You talked about when you guys were starting in your investments or kind of midway through your beginning stages, and you're starting the podcast and you kind of got stalled for a couple years, it sounds like, at your 30,000 mark on, I'm guessing you're talking about Instagram, and you kind of had this stall. Which 30,000 is still really good. I'm sure a lot of people would like to be there. They're starting out. But I feel like certain people have personalities where they're just go-getters and they're self-starters. And then some people kind of have to train that consistency and that motivation. Do you guys just feel like you had the personality where you knew and you had the stick-to-itiveness? Or what were tools or mindset things you guys used? Or did you just know if we keep doing it, we'll succeed? We got to keep doing it.
I think we've heard from enough people that it's going to take 10 years. And if enough people that are successful around us have told us that, you eventually just have to give into that fuel and that information. And it's interesting because I think of posting on social media and doing our podcast as just it's like part of who I am actually at this point. It's just kind of weird because people say to me, how do you post every day? How do you come up with the content? How do you have 2 podcasts a week? And I don't really know if I have a good answer. It's just like built into it's built into our ecosystem now. So, but I think that comes with just repetition and doing it over time. So I don't know if I have a good answer for your question because I don't think I've always been like that. I think it's developed into like, oh, this is what I need to do. And I also really, if we didn't enjoy doing it, we wouldn't do it. Like, period. Like there's no point in doing all this if you don't have some level of enjoyment, even if there is mundane in between. Like, we love doing it. I do. And I had a conversation with somebody yesterday and they're like, yeah, like how do you post every day? And I was thinking, well, you don't need to start with every day. Why don't you commit to posting 2 times a week and do that for 6 months? And then if you can do that for 6 months, then you can add a day. And the biggest and the best example that I can give for any of this in terms of consistency is that I did the fitness challenge 75 hard. Prior to doing 75 hard, I worked out 3 days a week because that's what I thought I could do and endure. I couldn't do any more than 3 days a week. I didn't have enough time. I did 75 hard, 75 days of no drinking, 2 workouts a day, progress photos. It's like a challenge. It's not sustainable, right? But it's a challenge. After I did that, I realized, well, I just did that. I just worked out twice a day for 75 days in a row. I can work out 5 days a week easily. So now I work out 5 days a week, right? So it's the same thing in any other aspect. It's like if you can post twice a week for 6 months, it can prove to you that you can add a day. If and then you build it up that way. I don't know. It's funny. I don't really know how we kind of to look back and like keep that consistency, but it's just second nature now.
It's to piggyback off that, a couple of great things that he said is like it's kind of built into our DNA at this point. When you've done, it takes 21 days to form a habit, right? And so we've done this for way more than 21 days. I don't know how long, I can't count all the days, but thousands of days. And I think there was a level in the beginning of accountability where he, if Cory's posting and then I'm not posting, well, then I'm not doing my share, which isn't cool because we're 50-50 on this thing. And then vice versa for him. And like, granted, the strategy has changed over time. The algorithms changed a lot. And this is just specifically social media. And we've had meetings where like, dude, we feel like we're batting our head against a wall and we're like, this is not working. We're still, compared to someone else at like 30,000, you're like, back in the day when we first started, I'd be like, that's amazing. But when you see that number for 2 years or like a year and a half, you're like, what is happening? How is this other person who personally we don't like this content? I don't think it's that much better than ours. Like, did our page get shadow banned? Like all these things, right? And like the problem is you never know the true answer and you're just trying to figure it out. And it's finding, once something starts to work, you start teasing, like doubling down on it a little bit and seeing it, does it continue to work? And like the reason it's kind of like 10x at this point or doubled from where we were is from, we just leaned into the stuff that has been working. We're speaking directly to the audience and having it in like a conversational tone. Now, I do think the algorithm like has realized this is our finally has realized this is our sequence. We're speaking to the right people. We actually the content is kind of baked into our community, which is an interesting thing. But I wanted to talk about like the consistency part of this thing. And the only reason I can kind of bring this up is like I had a family member that was a big CEO, president of a company, and he retired about 2 years ago. And now watching him kind of he went through this journey of like struggling. He made a ton of money, was at the top of his game, and a lot of his identity was baked into his job, right? When he showed up to his job, he was head honcho and everyone asked him for questions, asked him how to do things. He was like the puppeteer, right? And then when you go to retiring, you're back with your family, which is awesome. Not that he's a great family man, by the way. Not that. It's like he just didn't know what to do with himself because he has all these skill sets, but he's not like needed in that way anymore. And it's just like, I've watched it and I felt so bad. I'm like, dude, you need to join a mastermind group. You need to get around these people that are doing this. And I'm like, now I'm seeing like, dude, me giving this advice to him, and it's like making me give myself this advice, like, dude, go meet the people, because at the end of the day, this could all get stripped away. But if you have these relationships, you can continue to do fun stuff. It doesn't have to be just real estate. Like if XYZ person and you might want to pivot, like you can go do that thing. And right now pivoting wasn't really an option for him because he only had the contacts in that specific lane and he had retired. And it was just this tough battle. And so my point is, him not having the ability to wake up and just go do something that like it was for a job, right? This is Cory and I's like baby / job. So it's the coolest thing where I wake up with a purpose now. And so just to answer your question, like it's more of like, I'm a dad. I know what it takes to raise a kid. I'm learning. She's only 2.5. But this is Cory and I's baby that we started 6 years ago. And it's like, we're training it, nurturing it. And the only way to actually get it going and like continue to go is to show up every day. And so I think it's part of like not wanting to let the other person down. So there's like accountability there, but also my identity is baked into this now too, where it's like, we put our name on this. It's like Ryan Bevilacqua, Cory Jacobson, real estate investors. Dude, you guys got to like be able to walk the walk, talk the talk, show up every day, or else why did you just do all this? Like, you're just not going to stop doing it, right? Like you just reached this level. Then when you get proficient at something, you're like, well, I'm not going to stop now. That makes no sense. Like, it just took me all this time to get there. Now let's help other people. So if there's so many different answers to that question, but I think you have to be a go-getter in the beginning, right? To have this like some sort of chip on your shoulder, want this bigger life or want something, or someone told you couldn't do something and you're gonna say, I'm going to go do it. But then it's the discipline and consistency over time thing. That's the hardest part for anyone. I think that's like you go to the gym, finally get in shape, right? You feel good. Okay, now you have to maintain it. So you have to go again and again and again and again, and you have to eat right. And so it's this very hard thing, but getting around the people that are doing it, it allows us to want to like keep up with them, and then they motivate us to keep going. And you learn little more tips and tricks so you can become an even better version, better entrepreneur, better person, better family man, better whatever it might be. But it goes back to the people again, right? Because if it was just me, sometimes I'd just be like, okay, I don't want to do it today. But now I have Cory, and I have a whole family to feed. So I was like, oh, okay, like it's not just me anymore. So I have to like, it gives you this extra push. And I think when you are positioned with that back against the wall mentality, where like other people are feeding from, like you're feeding other people, you have no choice. And I kind of like that. And I think some people need that. When you have kind of no option besides just to eat, you go find how to eat. So that's my long answer to that question.
Have either of you ever read the book? It's called Relentless. I think, is it Grover that wrote it? He's Michael Jordan's his private trainer, or his
Tim
Grover.
Yeah, I've heard the book. I have not read it. No.
Okay.
I haven't read it either, but I've heard of it. I have.
Go read it. It
Okay.
makes me think of that type of person, like that mentality of people that are just go-getters and they're starters. And like you guys talking about when you were with your friends and you wanted to talk about financial planning and business and that type of stuff. And your friend said, well, we just want to go get dinner. And just being in this world, he talks about how Michael Jordan and everybody around, it just seems silly to compare anyone to Michael Jordan because, right, he's the GOAT. But everyone around, he couldn't stand to be around his teammates that didn't want to work as hard as he was working, and he was best on the team. So he thought, why aren't you working harder? Because I'm the hardest working person here, but you're not in the gym when I'm in the gym. You're not working when I'm working. And so elevating that group around you, which in his case, it was his team, and he couldn't necessarily bring other people in. And so how frustrated he was being in that circle, just creating a circle that really lifts you up and doesn't go, why are you working this hard? Why are you doing this? And they're doing what you're doing, or ideally they're doing more. So you go, oh, I'm going to keep striving because this is my circle. I really think that book's a great book for entrepreneurs or people that have that spirit and are struggling with the people around them.
It's a good call out. I have a question for you. Do you have siblings?
No.
You have no siblings, only child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. The reason I asked that is it's very interesting. When I typically ask that, a lot of people that come on the podcast they say yes, and they're typically the oldest, and it's really interesting. And I guess technically you're the oldest, so this could apply to you. But
the youngest,
yeah. So maybe it's not perfect for this, but Cory and I are both the oldest, and I only mention this to bring it up to people that are listening to the podcast because it's super interesting. Where you're the firstborn, and then at some point, like pretty early on, you get thrown into the fire. Like, oh, you have a baby brother or a baby sister that comes out, and then you're now a protector. You have to show them the ropes. You have to like do things the right way, so that way they don't do things the wrong way, and you become this like, I don't know, like provider in a way. It's a weird thing. Like you're kind of like their buddy in a way, but you're also this like an extension of your parents. So I've kind of like, as I've grown up, I've been doing things first a lot of times. And like, so like I was the first one to go to high school, and I went to a different high school than the one in town. So I had to meet new friends, and then moved away for college. First one to get engaged, first one to get married, first one to have a kid. And so it's this very interesting like thing that I just was doing. And when you hear from your friends back home, at one point, one of my friends was like, dude, it was a very nice compliment. He's like, you've always done things first and like showed us what was possible. And like, I never was like afraid to do stuff because you already did it. And for me, I was like, damn, that's like such a cool thing. And for me, I'm like, how do I don't know why I keep doing things like that, but because I have two younger brothers and I was trained to do things the right way and like make sure that I'm setting a good example and making a good representation of the family name, if you will, right? You're just like, maybe that was trained in me at a young age and I didn't realize it and I've carried it through. And then maybe, I remember back in the day, like a lot of my friends were put on sports teams and their dads were the coaches, and I was picked pretty much last because I was the shortest one and not in shape, and they hit puberty first. And I was like, I've always been pissed about that. And I'm like, dude, so then, get in shape, whatever. I feel like things that happened to you as a kid, like kind of translate and like carry forward to you as an adult. And sometimes they're subliminal. So I don't know why we have this engine that keeps going. And I sometimes look at Cory and I'm like, this guy's a friggin' animal. Like there's this shit like I don't want to do. And he's just doing it. And I'm like, okay, if he's doing it, I got to do it. Like this was, especially in the beginning, he's like, all right, what are we doing this? Like, what are we doing this? I'm like, dude, like can I get a break? He's like, no, like what's the next thing? And like, it's kind of been woven into our business. I mean that as a compliment. You need the guys like that to like bring you up and like train you a little bit and show you what's out there. And you're like, all right, well, if he's doing this, like I got to do this, because that's like our competition's definitely doing that. Like look at Jordan, right? Him and Kobe, like animals to your point. And like Brady, these guys are just, they're not better than anyone else because of pure talent. Like, granted, they have talent, but they worked harder than any other person. They showed up when other people didn't want to show up. They never gave up. They just did it till their bodies gave out, right? And so that, to me, there's a lot of people that come from nothing. And to me, I feel like Cory and I's biggest competition. Like, we had a decent upbringing, each of us. Like, we didn't have to really want for much. We learned the value of $1 early. We had jobs at like 14 and all that. But there's people that, I'm telling you, like, they could barely eat. And like, I went to school in North Philly. Like, we both did. We went to Temple, and we're seeing people like struggle to like come up. They're paying for the school themselves. I'm watching this, and I'm like getting thrown into this new world. And so that gives you perspective. And then a lot of entrepreneurs we've talked to have these stories, like these war stories. Like, this one guy just did 20 years in the military. I'm like, that guy's way more intense than me, probably has way better training. Or he was homeless for 15 years and all this stuff. And I'm like, I didn't have that. So for me, I feel like these guys have that dog in them. And so I need to do whatever I can to like keep up with that. And I don't know, it's like a psychological thing. I don't really know the answer, but I think it's so interesting, and what makes all these podcasts so fun. You just learn how people tick, learn how people came from nothing, and they inspire you. And, sometimes you kind of flip your brain and be like, that's my competition. They'll probably carry you up anyways. They're probably not looking at you as competition, but to know there's other people that they'll do whatever it takes. Right. That's cool. And just, it keeps you kind of going when you don't want to, a little bit.
Yeah, it's crazy to hear just people's different experiences. And sometimes you grovel a little bit when you're in a tough spot in your business, or you're in a tough moment or a tough phase. Because I feel like we have these periods of our lives in our business life, and things are good and they're hard. And you have months and years of struggle sometimes, and months and years of victory. And then you hear somebody else's story and you just think, this is nothing. I have nothing to complain about. So when I was young, I went and lived in Mexico for a while. I wanted to learn Spanish. So between my associate and bachelor's degree, I went to live in Mexico City, and I was running one night, and I didn't want to go for a run, but I knew I needed to go for a run. And it was one of those, I don't want to make myself go. I don't want to get up and go. And I made myself go, and I'm out on my run, and there's a homeless man begging with no legs. And I thought, I was just sitting complaining because I didn't want to go on my run, and this guy would probably do anything in the world to just be fully able-bodied, and I want to bitch and moan and complain about, like, I don't want to go tonight. And it puts things into perspective for you.
It's great perspective. Yeah, it's I had one of those, not the same exact story, but the Broad Street run in Philly. It's like a 10-miler, and I'm like dying this was early on, like, I don't know, there's like mile 7 or something, maybe not early on. And I was like, turning the corner, I'm like, man, I got 3 miles left. Like, I don't think I can do this. Same situation. Guy with no legs on a chair. Sign. Do it for those who can't. I turned it into hyperspeed, running as fast as I possibly could. I was so motivated. I was like, I have no excuse. What am I doing? You're not tired, dude. You are not tired. So it got me through the end. And I'm like, I'll never forget that. It was like the weirdest, like, I needed to see that at the moment. And sometimes you need a little perspective. And it's a great story. Thanks for bringing that back to me. I'm like almost like teary-eyed about it, because I was like, it got me through the run, but I'm like, people are struggling like today and a lot. And like, that's why I struggle with these podcasts sometimes, is because you don't want to come out and be these guys like, hey, look what we've done. This is what look, if you put all this energy, effort into it, you could do it too. Most people can, if they put all of the time, energy, and attention into it, but most people won't. So it's like, we're trying to uncover the people that will do it. Like, you are capable of doing it. It's just going to take a lot, and find the other people that are doing it and just kind of stick with them and learn how they're doing it, and they'll motivate you, and you might partner together, and you might just find a lifelong friend that's going to get you to fill that void of, hey, like, I can have conversations about this stuff now where I never could, and I don't have to just bury myself in the books and dream about it. That's the coolest part. So for us, it's just like being able to live out a passion project, and now it's kind of a revenue stream, and there's like, it's things we're proud of, like, it's ours. It came out of nowhere. We continue to build it. I can't see us stopping anytime soon. And so that's what keeps me going personally. I just feels like it's weird to say, but it's like it's our baby. You're like, I want to take care of it. I want it to grow, and I want it to kick ass, and I want it to help as many people as we possibly can. So.
And I think it's important, like you said, you don't necessarily want to, I get what you're saying. You don't want to seem like you're gloating about what you've built. But at the same time, like Cory said, sometimes people don't like coaching, or you can't work for free. You have a million things you're doing, right? And so if you're going to take the time to train somebody up, you unless you have a really close friend or something, for the most part, you have to pay for something if you're going to get it. But the problem is there's a million people online that are coaches or mentors or whatever, and they have not done it at all. I see this all the time, especially with real estate agents. I'm going to teach you to be a top agent. They're not even selling anything anymore. They're not even actively selling real estate. Or you go click on something, I'm going to teach you how to grow your social media, and you go to their social media page and they have 890 followers. How are you going to teach me how to grow it if you have to have proof of concept? So that, I think, is the most important thing. Is coaches are valuable, but now that everybody can say they're a coach or an expert on the internet, you at least have to prove that you can take them down the path you're telling them you're going to take them down. So you do have to talk about it.
This is one of the reasons why that we feel like being in person and showing people the way and giving them, like the actual toolkit is the most effective way. Because look, if you meet Ryan and I and you make your own informed decision that you don't want to work with us, that's totally fine. But if you make assumptions on the internet, that's your own fault. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying we're for everybody. That's totally cool. But like, if you meet with us and you understand who we are, and then you don't think we're good people, okay, fine. Like, but to just judge based on like a brand that you're seeing on the internet, I think that's the hard part about content creation and like influencers and there are people that are selling wholesaling courses, which is to be clear, we don't sell a course, right? Like, but to sell a wholesaling course when you've done 4 wholesale deals, it's kind of criminal, So like, I don't ever want to be like looped into that group. I don't think it's right, but people will do it to make money, and that's just the unfortunate reality.
Yeah, it's a weird trust a trust epidemic, I think they're saying.
Trust recession is what we've heard.
Yeah, it's a strange thing. I also think there's people on the internet that are, it's could be a 13-year-old kid trolling, and it could be someone from a different country that's trying to steal your password to get into your profile. Like, it's just, I'm not saying that all the time, but the trolls out there, it's actually hilarious, and sometimes they just want to get a rise out of you, and they like, you'll put them in place, you'll reply back with like an intelligent answer and like prove your theory right, and they're like, yeah, I know, I just wanted to see what you'd say. And you're like, I'm an idiot. Like, why did I even give that attention? Like, what is the point of this? But it is funny where we're seeing this as, we post some motivational stuff, and like some people are all about it, and then other people are like, dude, that doesn't make sense, that's misleading. I'm like, what do you mean? Read I told you the how-to, dude. Like, exactly the how-to, just read the caption. So, and I don't know. People sometimes take social media as like gospel too, versus like it's just our opinion and how we see the world, right? So it's an interesting thing. It's just a weird world we live in. And I think it's just going to continue to get weirder in that way, with like technology evolving and all the stuff that we kind of talked about in the beginning of the episode, where
trusting what's real and trusting what's not real.
And the AI stuff is crazy. Yeah. Like, you're going to have people teaching and influencing out there that are not even real people. It's going to be an AI bot that looks like a semi hologram that looks perfect. I've seen like memes of Trump as like a rapper, and it looks exactly like him. Like, I honestly couldn't tell. Like, I obviously knew it wasn't him, but I'm like, this is getting so perfect, the way that even the mouths move and stuff. So I just think it's for businesses, it's going to be a really helpful tool to be able to, you can roll out a course probably within an hour and just get all the, like the prompt from ChatGPT, have it spit out to like an avatar, which is cool if you're teaching the right stuff, but it's also misleading to other people if you've never done it and you're just using information online. So weird world. I think once again, it's all lanes pointing to, if you can build a grassroots, be it boots on the ground kind of community in your localized network. Back in the day, what worked, it's funny, like history repeats itself. It's just like we got through the digitized thing. This is coming back. I feel like a lot of like businesses like plumbers, handyman, car washes, electricians, all these things, like those are maybe not the car wash thing, but the other stuff, I think the hands-on type stuff, those businesses are going to crush it soon, because no one wants to do anything. And they don't know how to do anything. And they're just like, well, I'm just pay to play. So we'll see. It's just funny conversations where I remember back in the day where I talk about everything's going to be digitized. It's going to be easier. It's going to be awesome. Now we're 7 years later. I'm like, it's kind of flipping again. It's the weirdest thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, not in a way we expected. I think all this AI stuff that's happened it's just really weird and really fast.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys. So I don't want to take any more of your time because I have had you for a while and I appreciate your time. How can people find you guys collectively? I know you guys have your collective Instagram and social media. And then if you want to give your separate and whatever you want, how is the best way to find you guys?
Yeah, the best way to get in touch with us is probably Instagram. I would say it is Instagram, and we're at Wealth Juice Official. And Ryan and I post every day on there, so you'll always see. And it's us replying to the comments. Most likely me Ryan replying to the comments. But if you're DMing, it's both of us replying comments. I'm in the DMs. Instagram, I have my personal. I share a lot about what I'm doing with the agent business. So that's Cory __ Jacobson. I haven't really shared that, but I have a public account. And then the Wealth Juice podcast, that is anywhere you listen to podcasts, and also YouTube. So that would be the best way to hear our long form content. And then if you want to have a conversation, feel free to DM us on Instagram at Wealth Juice Official.
Okay. Somebody wants to reach out to join your school community. They can message you on Instagram and you can connect them over.
That's the best way to do it. We'll hop on a call, see if it's the right fit. And that's the game. So Instagram's the best way to get to actually have a convo with us.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you being here. Is there anything else before I sign us off that I have not hit on that you think is important for beginning investors, beginning entrepreneurs, middle of the journey people that we just have to say today?
I don't want to harp on this too much, but I like to reiterate the mantra of like keeping your promises. And I've shared this on a number of podcast episodes. I actually have a tattooed on my body just to remind myself, really. But the reason that people are able to build confidence in their life as an entrepreneur, as an investor, and to build confidence in yourself is because they keep the promises that they make to themselves, so much so that they're not really concerned about the opinions of other people. And it's funny because we were just chatting about like people commenting on our stuff, and like Ryan and I, when deep down we don't really care about what people say in our comments, but my point is that the confidence that we've been able to build this has come from small promises that we keep to ourselves. So if anybody is out there thinking about like, how can I get ahead? Do what you say you're going to do, follow through, create connections, and then keep the promises. And that's like my final parting message.
And my piggyback off that for me, get around people that are doing what you want to do at a high level, right? I wanted to get into real estate investing for the longest time, thought about it, was intrigued by it, bought a primary residence with my wife. We lived there. That wasn't investing. That was buying a home. I was like faking that I was doing it, right? Like I was like, well, you bought a place. It wasn't investment property. Saw Cory was doing it. Already had a relationship with him. Just DM'd him. I said, dude, you're doing the damn thing. How do I do this with you? Let's talk. Shortly thereafter, we formed a partnership. And then from there, it was, okay, how do we get to the next level? Let's have this person on the podcast. Let's meet this person. Like putting your dreams and aspirations into the universe, but focusing on who is doing it at a high level and doing whatever you can to get in that room. Pay for mentorship. It does not have to be ours. What I'm saying is like, it's the easiest way. It's going back to school. Instead of having to cram yourself into the books and into the podcast for years and just hope that one day you're going to have the confidence to analyze a deal and make an offer, just go into the room with someone that's doing it on a daily basis. And you can do your own vetting. That's the problem. Like book calls with 5 different mentorships and mastermind groups and just know that they're probably going to be sales calls. You got to vet out the people, ask what they offer. What are they going to deliver? Do they have results? And if so, take the plunge. Like that's what we did. We've done this on every single aspect of our business, not just for getting into real estate. We've done this for running ads on social media, to enhance our social media content, to scale our podcast, to become better real estate investors, to become better family men. And like we've joined so many different mastermind groups over the last so many years. We spent over $100,000 each, I believe, in these masterminds. So just to give you proof of concept, like we went back to school ourselves and not to a university, school of hard knocks, if you will. So my point is it's worked out, and then you'll meet some of your lifelong friends there and potentially partners and people that they want to live the life that you want to live. And that's half the game, is like finding people to enjoy the journey with. So that's my last thing, is focus on the who, not always just the how.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time. Thanks for being here with us.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.